Have you ever felt something inside you start to feel uncomfortable with your own life? As if one day, in the middle of your routine, you suddenly woke up and everything you once tolerated now feels unbearable. You don't know why. You don't know since when. You just know something changed. And even though nothing on the outside has improved yet, something within you feels different. That discomfort you're feeling right now, that sense of no longer belonging to the mediocrity you once accepted, is a sign. And not just any sign. It's the silent confirmation that you've begun a process most people never experience. The birth of your true identity. And when that identity starts to rise, the external world must surrender. Because it's not money that creates wealth. It's the man who transforms himself who begins to attract it. This video didn't appear by accident. This message didn't find you randomly. If you're hearing these words, it's because you're ready for a truth few are brave enough to face. You are no longer the same. Not because you have more, but because you expect more. Not from a world, but from yourself. That expectation, that inner fire, is the beginning of a life very few are willing to build. This video isn't here to motivate you. It's here to wake you up. Because if you're seeing these signs, it means wealth has already begun to move in your direction. Not as an empty promise, but as the inevitable echo of the person you're becoming. And if you stay until the end, I'll show you exactly how to know if you're on that path. Because once you recognize the signs, you'll never walk blind again. There's a specific moment when true wealth begins. And no, it's not when you earn your first million. It's when your soul refuses to tolerate what it once called normal. You start to feel burdened living without purpose. You get tired of working only for money. You get restless pretending everything's fine when deep down you know you were born for something more. What you once endured, constant complaining, mental chaos, empty circles, now feels like poison. You can't lie to yourself anymore. You can't fake it anymore. And in that discomfort lies the first great sign. Because mediocrity never bothers those who still call it home. It only disturbs those who are starting to leave it. This is the most silent and powerful transition of all, when your spirit says without words, "This is no longer me." And that's where many people get confused. They think something's wrong with them. They think they're becoming cold, bitter, detached. But the truth is different. You're not shutting down. You're tuning in. Your sensitivity is evolving. Your mind is transitioning. Your vision is maturing. You no longer crave distraction. You crave direction. You no longer look for escape. You look for structure. You're no longer impressed by noise. You seek impact. And if you're feeling this, you're not alone. Thousands of people in the Napoleon Hill Code are awakening just like you. Every week, we share messages like this, not just to motivate, but to remind you who you're meant to become. Because you weren't born to adapt. You were born to ascend. What you're feeling isn't confusion. It's clarity. It's your soul saying, "I don't want to survive. I want to build." And the one who starts building, even without the full blueprint, is already closer to wealth than the one still decorating his cage with excuses. This is your sign. Discomfort isn't the enemy. It's the divine signal that your next level is calling. There's something that can't be bought or recovered, time. And when you start walking toward true wealth, your relationship with time changes forever. What you once wasted, you now protect. What you once gave away, you now invest. You begin to realize something most people never do. Time isn't something you have. It's something you build. The poor waste it. The average trade it for entertainment. But the rich transform it into a silent asset that works for them. You stop living for weekends. You stop counting down to vacations. Now, you live for your vision. Every hour, every block of time becomes a brick in the construction of your inner empire. And something interesting happens. You start saying no more often. Not because you're arrogant, but because you're aligned. A no to distraction is a yes to your purpose. A no to the urgent is a yes to the important. And that makes others uncomfortable because they no longer understand your process. But you're no longer here to please. You're here to build. And when you're building, every minute counts. You begin to see your calendar as a battlefield. And you decide where your focus, energy, and soul will go. Not everything deserves your time, because your time is an extension of your life. If your priority is no longer to kill time, but to multiply it, you're already seeing through the eyes of abundance. And it doesn't matter if the money hasn't shown up yet. What matters is that you're acting like the kind of person who deserves it. Remember this: the man who honors his time is already building his fortune, even if it hasn't reached his bank account yet, because wealth always follows focus, and focus lives in time well used. You're no longer counting down. You're in construction mode. There's a kind of silent wealth that can't be measured in numbers. It's measured by your ability to sustain attention. As you walk toward true prosperity, you'll notice you can't be everywhere anymore, not mentally, not emotionally, because you realize that focus is more valuable than effort. Distracted men are always exhausted. Focused men are unstoppable, and you start to feel that difference. Your mind can no longer tolerate shallow conversations, meaningless videos, empty noise. You've grown allergic to the superficial because something deep is forming within you, and depth never coexists with noise. Every time you choose to read instead of scroll, you're building your vision. Every time you choose to write instead of complain, you're declaring your destiny. You're shifting from consumer to creator. And that, my friend, is a clear sign that your mind has changed codes. You're no longer the same. You can't pay attention to everything, because now you know attention creates. Where you focus grows. Where you scatter your mind, you lose strength. So now you carefully choose what you watch, what you hear, who you speak to. It's not control, it's consciousness. It's not paranoia, it's direction. Because the man who guards his attention guards his energy. And the man who guards his energy guards his destiny. And if you're here listening to these words, it's not coincidence. It's a sign that you're returning to your center. And from that center, everything that once looked impossible begins to align. You no longer move by external stimulation. You move by inner direction. And when a man reaches that level, he becomes unshakable. Because the one who controls his focus controls his fate. And the one who controls his fate always ends up attracting wealth. One of the strongest and least visible signs that you're walking toward wealth is this: you stop thinking about what's immediate and started thinking about what lasts. Where you once chased instant gratification, you now prefer to build lasting structures. You no longer ask, "How do I feel today?" You ask, "What will this create in 5 years?" And that shift changes everything. You've developed something rare, the vision of a builder. Because the poor live day to day, the average live month to month, but the rich live projected into the future, not to escape the present, but to design it. You no longer do things to impress. You do them to progress, to leave a mark, to multiply. And it shows in your decisions, your habits, your structure, your rhythm. There's less impulse and more intention, less desire and more direction. You're building systems, habits, and mental structures that don't depend on your mood. Projects that don't seek applause, only results. And even if others don't understand it, you do. Because a mind that thinks in years no longer belongs to the average. Wealth loves the predictable. It loves the solid. It loves the man who plants even when he doesn't see the harvest yet. You're planting seeds others aren't willing to plant. And that's why tomorrow, you'll reap what they never will. If you don't see immediate results, don't worry. You're in construction. And what's valuable always takes time. An empire is never built in haste, but it's always built with intention. You're no longer chasing fast impact. You're designing a life that won't collapse. A structure of wealth that will outlive you. There comes a point in evolution where you stop speaking like someone who hopes and start speaking like someone who declares. Your words stop being wishes and become commands. You no longer say, "I hope things get better." You say, "I'm building what will make them better." You no longer say, "I hope to succeed." You say, "I'm on my way and I won't stop." Because the voice is architecture, and every word you speak is a blueprint. You're no longer building walls of excuses. You're raising temples of purpose. Your affirmations aren't wishes, they're anchors, reminders of who you're becoming. When a man controls his language, he controls his mind. And the one who controls his mind no longer drifts. Remember this. Your reality always follows your words. Change your language, and you change your destiny. You no longer speak from lack. You speak from certainty. And that, my friend, is wealth in its purest form.